I think what feedback can get you is getting into the mind of your target customer and understanding what message your ad is actually conveying. And so that's something that you're not going to be able to read within the clicks, right? Like you could have a clickbaity ad that drives a ton of clicks, but if it's sending the wrong message for your business or the value prop that you're trying to put out there, then that may not be the message that you want to throw money behind.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. And today we've got a very special guest, John Lee, who is the co-founder of Pik Fu, a consumer research platform for getting instant feedback from target audiences. Thousands of global brands rely on Pik Fu to help them make better data-driven decisions about their products and marketing. John is passionate about building systems that help others succeed. He has a degree in computer science from UC Berkeley and the University of Washington, and he lives with his family in the San Francisco area, where he shuttles his kids around in his dream car, a minivan. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Thanks, Arlen. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for joining us. I find it hard to believe that the minivan is your dream car.
It's really funny that I've been dreaming about a minivan since before I had a family, because I always just appreciated how practical that they were. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. They are. They definitely are. Yeah. I'm always kind of kidding and joking with my business partner. He has two kids, and they have all these different activities. I'm like, you just need to get a minivan.
Yeah, shuttling around.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. He's fought it, but I don't know. Maybe at one point he'll bite the bullet. But yeah, they are practical, not only for shuttling kids, but just hauling stuff. It makes it a lot easier. I'm here in Florida, and a lot of people have pickup trucks, and that's kind of the thing here in Florida. But yeah, to me, as far as hauling things, it's quite not as practical, especially here. I mean, of course you can get the covers for the flatbed, but the space is still a little bit limited. You got to worry about tying things down. And with a minivan, depending on what you get, I can imagine you can take the back seat out,
so much stuff.
Seats out, and then just then just dump stuff back there. Yeah. So good stuff, man. Well, today I'm really excited to talk to you because we're going to be diving deep into, what you know best, which is consumer feedback. We're going to be talking about using real consumer feedback to actually drive sales and grow your e-commerce business. I think it's definitely a hot topic, and it's actually one that I don't think we've actually covered before on the podcast. So definitely excited to dig deep into that. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
So as you mentioned before, my background is in computer science. So my background's always been in computer science and software programming and building software. And, out of school, went to Microsoft and was building software there and doing project management there. But one of the things is that I had a co-founder, I think similar to you, in college, where we met in college, hit it off, always wanted to build a business. So after a couple of years at Microsoft, we jumped ship and started our business. We were building a bunch of different websites, had all these ideas that we wanted to try out. Our first website was a restaurant menu aggregator, something completely different from consumer feedback. But in the process of building that site, my partner and I were both engineering backgrounds, not natural designers. And we always just butted heads in terms of marketing decisions, right? What is the headline that we need to do on this site? what is the layout that's going to work best, all of the different things. And we would butt heads, have debates. We would ask our friends and family, but our friends and family were biased, and eventually when you stop, as I'm sure you know, at some point they're going to get a little tired of just providing feedback on your ideas, and that they're biased. And so we knew that we needed to go and get real feedback from consumers. We heard that, take your designs to a coffee shop or go ask people on the street and so on. But being software engineers, we're introverted and didn't want to talk to strangers. So instead of rather talking to strangers on the street and showing them designs and whatever, we built a tool that helped us get feedback from unbiased, random people on the internet. That's Pik Fu. Now, that was a long time ago, but what happened is that we put it on the side, barely marketed it, just put a PayPal button on it, and it took on a life of its own. And so we were over here working on our main project. PickFu was on the side, just growing organically, growing through a bunch of different verticals. So, for example, it started growing in the self-publishing community, because PickFu is essentially, what we built was essentially a digital focus group where you put up 2 or more options and you let people vote and give responses. And so you get this really fast feedback on it. Okay. And it worked really well in the publishing space because authors were testing their book titles and book covers before publishing. You can't take that stuff back, right? And everyone judges the book by its cover. Mm-hmm. And then then it started growing in other industries like gaming for testing app icons and app store screenshots. And then eventually it started growing in the e-commerce community, particularly among Amazon sellers for testing their main images, because it turns out that when you test images and product descriptions and product images on PickFu and you go with the winning option, a lot of times that correlates into better sales. And so we've been growing a lot in the Amazon community ever since.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I've had a few people on just recently where we were talking about Amazon and optimizing your Amazon listings. And that's kind of one of the main things that we talked about is that image, that product image is so key. And you got to make sure you have the right ones because, that's what's going to pull people initially in there. So it's good to know that, yeah, you guys have a tool that can help people, pick the right one. Well, right now we're in middle of April 2024, and it's an interesting time, and I think I want to kind of start right into it by addressing the elephant in the room, or not so subtle elephant in the room, which is AI. With all of this surge with AI technology and AI-driven personalization tools, because there's a lot out of them, specifically in e-commerce. How does PickFu's approach the gathering consumer feedback complement?
Absolutely. So I think the key thing that we value at PickFu is that we bring the people, right? We bring unbiased people and a panel. We are able to tap into a panel of over 15 million global consumers that you can micro-target by country, gender, age, whether they're an Amazon Prime shopper or shop on Shopify, whether they own dogs, whatever, right? So whatever you're selling online, you can probably find that targeting and you're able to get real feedback from your target audience with PickFu. We're always going to focus on providing high quality human feedback. We're just trying to do the best that we can at that. Now, we've incorporated AI to help process that information, because what you can do with PickFu is that you can target anywhere between 15 to 500 people at a time to get feedback. Now, if this is really high quality feedback, that's a lot. Like 500 responses is a lot of stuff that you're going to read through. It's going to give you a lot of different insights on, let's say, your main image or your product design or product packaging. But that's a lot of stuff to read through. So what we've done at PickFu is that we've incorporated AI to help summarize all those responses, like let's say 500 or 100 or whatever, into a nice executive summary for each of these polls that you're running, insights into what people like and dislike, and you can even write prompts about your polls to really dig into the data. So that's what we've done on our platform, and our users have loved it. On the external side, in terms of the marketplace, what we've seen is that AI tools have really helped lower the bar for creation of marketing assets, right? Generative AI for creating copy, creating product listings, generative AI for creating lots of different product packaging designs. We see a lot of AI generated packaging designs, room layouts, screenshots, all of that stuff. And I think that that's fantastic. But I think that if you are selling to humans, like you can use AI to generate those creatives, but you still need to test with real humans to understand what are going to motivate humans to choose, let's say, this AI generated package versus this AI generated package. Like you're always going to need the human touch if that's who you're selling to.
Yeah, yeah, if I get that. Yeah, there's really no way around that, no matter what tools are. And that's a conversation that I've had, several times actually. The recent recording that I had last week, that's kind of one of the things that we posed is, yeah, with all of these advancements in AI, will they get to the point where they replace the human creativity? And yeah, it just doesn't seem like it. I mean, they're getting close to being really super creative, but I think they're ultimately, I don't think that anything can replace the human creativity.
It feels like the AI tools can be very creative, but I suspect that human creativity will then show itself in another way when equipped with AI tools that can do all the stuff that we're seeing now. So I think it's just a really powerful tool. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Now, I want to kind of paint a picture now with probably a situation that I know many e-commerce businesses probably find themselves in right now. We're about 4 years post-pandemic, and of course, as we all know, a significant amount of businesses have felt the impact from the pandemic and are still kind of recovering from the pandemic. How would you say could real-time feedback from not only Pik Fu or just any consumer feedback solution, how could that reshape the marketing strategy of a firm that's in that situation and help them regain
Talk about
momentum?
3 of them. I think the first one is testing advertising efficacy. I know the landscape has changed with online advertising and Apple's privacy restrictions and then like all this other stuff. And so the game has definitely changed when it comes to online advertising. I think one thing that consumer feedback can for you, it's never going to get you the raw data as well as just running a bunch of like throwing ad spend on Facebook and seeing like the clicks and the optimization and stuff. But I think what feedback can get you is getting into the mind of your target customer and understanding what message your ad is actually conveying. And so that's something that you're not going to be able to read within the clicks, right? Like you could have a clickbaity ad that drives a ton of clicks, but if it's sending the wrong message for your business or the value prop that you're trying to put out there, then that may not be the message that you want to throw money behind. So you can definitely test your existing ad inventory just to make sure and check that the values and the message that you're wanting to send out there is getting out there. The second one is obviously like what we were talking about before, optimizing your imagery. So whether you're selling on your own site on like Shopify or BigCommerce or some kind of platform like that, or on some kind of marketplace, definitely optimizing your product imagery for maximum appeal to that shopper is key, particularly if you are selling on a marketplace like Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, TikTok shops. I know is getting a lot of buzz nowadays. In a marketplace, it's not brand. Most marketplace shoppers are not brand driven. Like you don't go to Amazon and search for a specific brand. You go to Amazon, you search for a teapot, right? Like it's very keyword based. Because it's keyword based and consumers are looking at you and 10 other competitors that also rank for that keyword term, then what you're putting up there visually is going to be super important for you to win the click instead of your competitor. So that's just optimizing your image. And I think the third thing would be to do competitive testing. And any e-commerce owner, any e-commerce entrepreneur out there, that you have competition. I mean, like that can come in different shapes. It could be competitors on a marketplace. It could be someone else that's DTC or something selling something similar. You can get feedback by running your products, your marketing, your collateral on PickFu and actually putting it up against your competitors' collateral. So let's say you're selling a teapot and you have 3 other competitors out there. You can take their images, put it up on PickFu next to your image, run a poll, ask people what they prefer and why. read the comments, and it doesn't matter whether you, it kind of matters, it's to your ego, but it doesn't really matter whether you win or not. It's really about the comments and reading why a consumer may prefer your competitor's product or service over yours, because that's the kind of insight that you're not going to get without speaking to customers directly, which is really hard.
I see.
And being able to understand those insights lets you iterate on what you're offering and putting out there in the market to hopefully turn around something that might be going poorly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's something that it would be hard to determine that, and those are some key insights determining why a consumer would pick another brand over yours. What is it about that other brand that made them go that way? And then based on that feedback, I'm sure that's very powerful feedback. You can figure out, okay, all right, they went this way because product B has this feature and we don't have it, so it's like, okay, all right, we need to get this feature. So it can definitely really help improve things a long way. And so any brand that's still reeling from the post pandemic world and trying to recover, those are definitely some ways, I think, like you said, you can really try to get some quick wins. I mean, it takes time, of course, to analyze the data and then decide which direction that you want to go based on the feedback, but it can at least help steer the ship, so to speak, in the right
hopefully
direction.
In the right direction, and reduce risk of failure, right? Like making the wrong decision.
Yes, exactly. These days, another kind of big thing out there with brands and consumers is privacy, data privacy. It's a huge discussion amongst marketers and consumers. And so there's these laws such as the GDPR, the CCPA. What should what should an entrepreneur, that's an e-commerce entrepreneur, look for when they're trying to pick a solution like PickFu or another consumer feedback app solution with regards to how data is handled ethically and legally? Is there certain things that you guys have put in place that you would say that is kind of a must-have or something that must be done?
For sure. So PickFu taps into a global panel of third-party consumer panels. So we're built on other panels that are out there. These are the kinds of panels that are used by really big brands, really big CPGs like Procter and Gamble and Kraft and stuff, when they put together focus groups for, let's say, deciding on the next flavor of instant mac and cheese or Canadian Cheerios or whatever, right? But instead of all the middlemen there and consultants, we just tap into those panels with software. One of the things that we do with our software is that we set the quality bar really high to make sure that all panelists are really focused on answering the survey and not just trying to get some kind of stipend or whatever, earn some kind of points in a game and so on. And so as part of that, we ensure that every single panelist signs an NDA, and so that they do not reveal anything. Like, they're all under NDA. They don't reveal any sort of proprietary information like designs or whatever that they're seeing and evaluating. And then on the flip side, in terms of being ethical about our panelists, like, we pay them a fair wage. It's a stipend. We are very careful to make those calculations that they're being compensated fairly. And then at the same time, the way we do our demographics is that we actually ask them to self-report their demographics. So we're not buying lists anywhere or whatever. Okay. Like, this is all, we're trying to be as above board on all sides as possible, where, the information that we report from our panelists, that's gathered through us. And then anything that our users, like any potential user who's putting up designs for evaluation and so on, they should be very confident that none of their stuff, like everything's under NDA, and that their data is safe with us.
Gotcha. That's definitely good to know, and it's good. At least we have some groundwork, or at least a kind of a blueprint for what to look for if you're kind of shopping around, and if you're looking.
Yeah, I'd add one other thing actually that just came to mind. We have a policy in-house that because we see so much, because PickFu is like a test bed for a lot of interesting high value proprietary information, we have a policy that no one in our business is working on anything that's competitive with our key markets, right? Because that's way too unfair to say like, well, I see all of this
Right.
information, and then I also have this side thing that's, where I'm going to like take advantage of that.
Oh,
So,
okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. That's really good to know because yeah, that just would give somebody
oh,
within the company kind
absolutely.
of an unfair advantage because they're seeing all these insights and then
You would never want to use a platform where someone there could use that against you, right? Like that's,
I
yeah.
see. Yeah, makes sense. Definitely good. Something good to know. Now, these days, another big thing out there that is on the minds of consumers is sustainability. As
Yeah.
consumers, and I guess brands as well. It's a kind of a major thing. How would you say e-commerce businesses can leverage consumer insights to effectively communicate their sustainability efforts without falling into the trap of
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
greenwashing, which is just a brand just slapping a
I know.
sustainability
I know.
graphic on their site just to say that they are, but there's no backing in that, and there's no truth in it. So how would you use consumer
Yeah, I
insights
mean,
to
I think
communicate that?
honestly, I think it really depends on the category that you're in, right? Like, I think the consumer of the category
Okay.
where you're operating in, like different categories of consumers will care more about the sustainability efforts of the products that they buy versus others. So, one thing that you can do with a platform like PickFu is you can actually ask your target audience how much they care about it, right? Like, let's say you're selling, let's say you're selling like cleaning supplies or something. You could ask your target audience, let's say of moms or whatever, like homeowners of a certain age, to stack rank or just in an open-ended way, what are the elements that are, what are the top three elements that are most important to you when you're buying your cleaning products? And you can let them freeform answer that and take a look at that data, right? Because if
Okay.
you ask 100 homeowners about their preferences for cleaning supplies, like what do you care about the most, you might find, I don't know, right, but you
Right.
might find that sustainability and like eco-friendliness is not necessarily in like the top three, right? So that you can use
Sure.
that kind of
Gotcha.
open-ended information and data gathering to help you understand how much you really even need to push those efforts in terms of like putting that messaging out there.
Right.
After that, obviously, then you can test different types of messaging, different types of packaging, and so on. Like, how big do you want to make the label? What kind of words do you want to put on it? That kind of stuff, with PickFu, and get feedback on that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that because, as a brand, you don't necessarily have to
No,
kind of jump on the bandwagon of this whole sustainability thing when your consumers may not even be concerned about that, because that's the bottom line. You really have to cater to the needs and the wants
mm-hmm.
of your typical consumer, and if it's something that
Of
they're concerned
course,
about, of
yeah.
course, in order to keep selling, in order to make them happy, and in order to you know keep going, yeah, you want to kind of see what you can do in those spaces. But yeah, if they're not concerned about it, then it's kind of like you're burning money for no reason.
Exactly. You just want to be attuned to the needs of your customer. That's really
Right.
what it is, right? And so using a tool like PickFu can hopefully get you a little closer than you would be otherwise.
Yeah, yep,
So,
definitely. Now, there's a trend with a lot of e-commerce platforms. I'm thinking of like Amazon, and then there's some other custom platforms for e-commerce brands where augmented reality is a component of it. And to give you an example, I think on Amazon, let's say there's certain products that you can buy. Like, let's say you're buying furniture. They have augmented reality components tied to the Amazon app where you can visualize how that couch would look in your living room. So you just take your camera up, and then you can kind of visualize how it would work there. And so all of this stuff is, it's really cool, and it's really advancing pretty quickly. As far as optimizing this technology, how would you say consumer feedback can help these platforms really optimize that experience?
yeah, it's really funny that that you bring that up, because we actually have a major public retailer in the furniture space who uses PickFu
Okay.
for exactly that purpose,
Oh, wow.
where they are
Okay.
selling furniture online on their platform. It's a very large platform,
Okay.
and they're selling a couch. And
Mhm.
what we've worked with them, and I mean, it's self-service. What we've seen them do is that they will take the couch and come up with 5 different virtual reality rooms.
Oh, wow.
right? Like, does this couch look better in a, a contemporary room, a modern room, so 5 different backgrounds, same product, put
Mhm.
that up, put those versions up on PickFu to see which virtual backdrop and virtual room sells the product the best. Like,
I
right.
see.
And so then we've seen them run these tests over and over again.
Mhm.
And then it's great because we see them go and we actually see it live on their site. Like, oh, I
Okay.
remember that
Wow.
couch that won that poll, and now it's live on their website, because what they're trying to do is really put the best. It's like with the same with the generative AI thing, right?
Mhm.
When tools make it easier to come up with all these variations, you're still going to want to test those variations with the real consumer, and that's exactly
Right.
what we see them doing with whether it's virtual
Yeah.
reality or generative AI. Like, it all applies.
Okay, really, really cool stuff. So using your solution and doing the polling, so it basically allows them to figure out what the default picture of the couch should be.
Yep,
And I see, and then so they after the poll, they know, okay, this couch performed better if it was on a modern background with a modern backdrop.
exactly.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and
Really.
then they run with that,
Mhm.
right? Because at least it's instead of just trusting your gut
Yeah,
or somebody's gut over there,
yeah.
at least it's validated with like data. It's data backed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. As we get ready to wrap things up, with the rise of social commerce on platforms like TikTok Shop you mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
and a lot of
right.
these other platforms, Facebook, you can purchase, and all of these platforms now are tying in an e-commerce component where the consumer and the user can easily purchase on platform and not have to go off platform to do it. Um, uh, you know, what role do you see consumer feedback playing in shaping this whole future of shopping on these platforms?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, we've been thinking about that a lot. I think one of the challenges or one of the benefits of being on a social platform and having it tied in is that anyone who's selling in theory has a built-in network and an audience, right? So
Right.
they can obviously tap into the audience to help them understand what will sell or what should sell. I think that the opportunity might be in terms of product selection
Hmm.
for the person who's actually selling. That it might be harder to like, because we've seen this with other platforms. Like, even if you have your own audience, even if you're selling and you have a 10,000 person mailing list for all your customers, you don't necessarily want to bog them down with surveys and polls and stuff all the time. And the response rates are generally pretty low on those kinds of things.
Oh,
So there is still always an opportunity to survey an outside audience that might match your target demographics to get that feedback. And so for social selling, I think as as more and more individuals become entrepreneurs on these platforms, the opportunity for them to use outside consumer platform sentiment to help decide on their products and whatever they're trying to sell, I think it's pretty powerful. I think it's a pretty good opportunity.
yeah, yeah. I see it, and yeah, it's only getting larger. I think all of these social
Totally.
platforms, yeah, at least they're gonna have some form of it where, the social selling can happen on their platforms, and it makes sense, and I totally get it,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, John, this has been an awesome conversation. I definitely appreciate having you on. I've definitely learned a ton, and as we've seen, there's things are changing. Things are changing quickly. There's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
things coming into play, but the bottom line is, as a business, I think you always have to keep consumer feedback kind of in the forefront there when you're
Hmm.
making decisions, especially about marketing, because that's, I think, going to determine your trajectory on doing a lot of things, and so you don't end up burning cash, as I was mentioning
Absolutely.
earlier. I always like to switch gears on my final question, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
Well, I think I would have shared the one that we touched upon earlier, which is that I've been wanting a minivan since before actually having a family. I think that
Right.
that's one, and then maybe another.
Sure.
I don't play any musical instrument, but I've always wanted to learn. Lifelong
Okay.
goal.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's never too late.
I know.
Definitely
Yeah.
it's never too late to jump out there. Well, good stuff. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Appreciate having you on. And finally, before we do let you go, if our listeners and viewers would like to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about, consumer feedback for their e-commerce business, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on most of the social platforms, but I'm usually most active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for me. And if there's too many, search for me and PickFu.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll definitely have the link to your website in the show notes, and we'll also put your LinkedIn handle as well in the show notes so people can easily reach out to you. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure, John. We really appreciate having you on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks, Harlan. Great being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of wading through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.